This is a presentation of Chalk Talks, presented by the Plane for Power Project.
This video is about Patsy Mink, an amazing woman who is a member of the United States House of Representatives. I think you will enjoy learning about her because she fought very hard for Title IX. I'm incredibly grateful to Patsy Mink and to all of the people whose hard work had such an impact on my opportunities.
When Patsy Mink was young, she wanted to be a doctor, but she couldn't get into medical school because she was a woman. I wanted to be a doctor too, a veterinarian. I have wanted to be a veterinarian for as long as I can remember. And because Patsy Mink and others fought for Title IX, I can't be denied admission to vet school just because I'm a girl. Title IX changed everything for me.
Sports are fun. They make me feel good and help me learn about teamwork and setting goals. I'm glad that Patsy Mink worked so hard to give girls like me a chance. Thank you, Patsy Mink.
My name is Diane Regan, current president of AAUW Ohio. Around this state, nearly 2,000 educated women have chosen to belong to the American Association of University Women. AAUW was founded in 1881 with a goal to advance equity for women and girls through advocacy, education, and research. The organization continues to exist today because, as its mission statement indicates, equity is still an issue. As you probably know, Title IX was designed to guarantee equal educational opportunity for women and men who attend schools that receive federal funding. What you might not know is that an AAUW member was a driving force in developing and passing this legislation. Her name was Patsy Mink, and she was a congressional representative from Hawaii. As a member of AAUW, I am proud to share her story with you. Patsy Mink was the first woman of color to be elected to the United States Congress. She served in the House of Representatives from 1965 to 1977, and again from 1990 to 2002. During 12 of those years, one of her close associates was Neil Abercrombie, the current congressional representative from Honolulu. Representative Abercrombie has vivid memories of his strong professional partnership with Representative Mink.
Patsy Mink and I were partners for many years, and of course she was a first in many things herself. Patsy was one of the authors of Title IX that changed everything, changed the world. Isn't it amazing when you think about it, that someone could write some legislation knowing that they were going to do something good, something that was worthwhile, they were sure, but having no idea of the incredibly profound impact it would have generation after generation. Equity was not an issue for Patsy Mink. Equity was a passion with Patsy Mink. Equity for her was the way she lived, and so it led her naturally to Title IX. When the history of the United States House of Representatives is written, Patsy Mink will be in the top rank of legislators from the beginning of the Republic.
Patsy Mink had wanted to become a doctor, but after graduating with a degree in zoology and biology in 1948, none of the 20 medical schools to which she applied would accept her because she was a woman. She then decided to become an attorney and applied to the University of Chicago, which accepted her because they viewed her as an international student. As you will recall, Hawaii did not become a state until 1959. Upon receiving her law degree in 1951, Patsy Mink returned home, and in 1953, she became the first woman of Japanese ancestry licensed to practice law in Hawaii. But no firm in the islands would hire a female, so Ms. Mink started her own private practice.
The experiences of her early life in particular are interesting, how it manifested itself when Title IX evolved. You know, things like that just don't pop out. They don't just appear. There are antecedents to it. There's a foundation. She was raised on the island of Maui, a plantation economy, running around in the fields. And she was a girl. They say, oh, well, of course she was a girl. We know. No, but that has a cultural impact. That has a meaning. There's something about that. Her gender meant something. She was a girl in a society of Japanese immigrants that were very, very patriarchal, very, very conservative, village people, hardworking, sent money back to Japan. Many couldn't return, so they began a life for themselves in Hawaii. But believe me, there was still a firstborn male mentality operating there, culturally speaking, that she broke through. Her father was, in that respect, a very unusual person. He understood that this daughter of his was special, that she was smart, and she was tough, and she was quick. And he cultivated that. He encouraged her. So she became the first in everything she did. She was the first Asian female to get up to the mainland and get into law school. And you see pictures where the law school is there, and it's all white males, and there's Patsy Mink. And, of course, then she married a white male, right? So she came back. She was breaking all the barriers. She was female. She was Japanese. She was smart. She'd broken all the barriers. Naturally, she couldn't get a job.
Patsy Mink had earned her law degree so that she could work through the judicial system to correct the injustices that had prevented her from entering medical school. She knew that girls and women would continue to be denied equal access to educational opportunity until the 1965 Higher Education Act was amended to mandate gender equity.
Very quickly we realized, as did Patsy, that this was going to have a profound impact in all areas of academia, and that the spillover effect in terms of equality of gender would resonate in the business world. It would resonate beyond the sports world and the academic world. It began to establish a mindset that probably could not have been foretold by this, what appeared at the time to be a minor piece of legislation, minor in the sense that it was just part of a larger bill. And this probably had something to do with its passage. The full implications weren't realized by everybody. And probably not Patsy or Edith Green, her partner in this, Edith Green from Oregon, who worked with her on this. They knew where they wanted to go. They knew what they wanted it to mean. They knew what they wanted to do. And they knew, and Patsy, don't forget, was a very sharp lawyer, very, very smart, very insightful. She had a steel whip for a brain. Boy, you had to be right on with her. So she knew that, but I don't think anybody could have foreseen the full implications.
The social climate in which Title IX was passed was markedly different from today's climate. Nationally, women were routinely discriminated against both in education and in employment. For example, at some universities, women didn't have equal access to all university academic programs, while at others, women couldn't even enroll until their junior year. In order to be admitted to any law school or medical school, female applicants had to have far better academic records than their male counterparts. In most colleges and universities, competitive athletic opportunities for female students were limited.
Title IX did not spring whole into existence. It was there, but the implications of it legally evolved. The implications socially evolved. And that was the fascinating part about it. You were in territory that was uncharted at the time, and so it was exciting to deal with that. And you could immediately see that it was going to change the way girls and women not only viewed each other, but viewed what their prospects were and to what they were entitled, to what was theirs by right. Not something that they had to beg for or plead for or hope that someone would grant to them, but rather something that was theirs by right. And that immediately changes the psychology. It changes the way you view the world. It changes literally the way you see yourself. Isn't that remarkable?
Shortly after Patsy Mink's death in 2002, President George W. Bush renamed Title IX the Patsy Takemoto Mink Equal Opportunity in Education Act in honor of this great woman's contribution to gender equity in education. The Patsy T. Mink Act will always stand as a tribute to the way she lived her life, the contributions she made to our lives, and the profound effect she had on her friends and colleagues.
It's interesting. She was a friend, but she was also a mentor. Her life was characterized by tenacity, by perseverance, but with a great big loving heart and a tiny, tiny package full of dynamism and vitality. She drew people to her. She was so smart, and she was so brave, and yet she was so feeling and compassionate towards everyone. A great burden to bear, to be such a paragon of virtue, but she was the kind of person that you wanted to be around, and now that she's gone, I miss her every day. It's interesting to think about what the future of Title IX might be, in this sense, that the foundation that's been established to this point of equality, of opportunity, equality of dealing with the challenges of funding sports and letting everybody qualified into the academic side of things, of breaking through the so-called glass ceilings in business and other activities of life. That we've become so used to it now that we sometimes take it for granted and perhaps forget that it has to be nourished, that it has to be nurtured, that we have to recognize where it came from, so that we don't lose sight of what we have. That's one of the reasons doing a documentary like this is important, because people who have experienced only Title IX, young women in particular, who think, well, of course I'm entitled to do this, that, and another thing, don't realize, no, there's a history of this, and it's fairly recent. It's not like it's 5 generations ago or 10 generations ago. Quite the opposite. This happened for a reason. It happened because of the insight and determination of people like Patsy Mink. But that said, unless we know the origins and examine the history and recognize who did it, how they did it, why they did it, we run the risk then of Title IX being taken for granted to the point that it doesn't have the same impact, it doesn't have the same import, that it perhaps can begin to fade a little bit, that it isn't quite taken as seriously as it needs to be to see to it that it keeps on engendering genuine equity in our society. So the future, I think of it, is dependent upon our recognition of where it came from, what it means now, and how we make sure that the future is not just as good, but that the future does not let down the legacy that Title IX has provided in terms of equity.